So I know in the last Evo video where we went to Sebring and we ran at 221, which was, I'm still shocked by it. I said that that was probably going to be the last time I tracked the Evo, and then I was going to consider selling the Evo from there on out. But obviously the situation has changed, guys, okay? The Corvette is gone, and seeing that I am considering getting possibly a GT4, a GT3, you know, that could have a PDK, you know, so the automatic, you know, the automatic dual clutch or whatever, or a C8 Z06. Obviously, that only comes with the dual clutch as well, so an automatic. You know, guys, any respectable car guy is gonna need to have a manual, right? I also don't want to just give the Evo away, okay? And then with everything that's going on right now, I've seen so many Evos being posted up, and they're asking good money for them, but I don't know if they're actually selling for that good money. Honestly, guys, I don't want to sell this car for cheap. I am not going to sell this car for cheap. You're going to be extremely hard pressed to find another example like this with the low miles that this one has. This one barely has 38,000 miles. So, you know, the possibility of selling it is still on the table, you know, and if you're interested, okay, and you're serious about having a pristine Evo like this, you know, hit me up. But I'm not gonna sell it for cheap, right? So seeing that, you know, I don't have my other manual car, and I may get a car that has an automatic, I'm considering keeping the Evo for another season or two, maybe longer, who knows? You know, and mostly to keep the manual, you know what I mean? And yes, I know this is not the best manual in the world, okay? But, you know, it's a manual and, you know, it works. And quite honestly, guys, like, this car is faster than like a GT4, even a 718 GT4, even a modded 718 GT4. Now in a straight line. I'm not gonna say that this will be as fast around the track as a properly driven GT4, but, you know, this has more power, you know, it weighs about the same, yada yada yada. So, you know, it's still a really nice car to have, you know what I mean? It's just that I'm having some issues that I'm kind of battling with, okay? So that's what this video is about. We're going to try to address one of the main issues that I'm having with the car right now. All right, well, since you clicked on the video, you know what this is about, man. Check this out. We're going to be doing the Paragon brakes front brake kit, and not just any front brake kit, okay? This is the nickel plated caliper option, okay? And this is the biggest rotor they have for the Evo, which is 370 millimeters. Wow, man, you know, I'm not a chrome rim or a chromed out kind of look guy. I know it's like coming back, but something about these nickel plated calipers, man. And I gotta say, I think this is not only nickel plated, but also polished, okay? Because look at how shiny this is, guys. Like, this is mirror polished. You can see some of the machine lines still there, okay? But, so I've seen the AP caliper setup, obviously. So, okay, so before I geek out on all this stuff. All right, guys, so I'm basically chewing through the front brakes way too fast on this car, okay? And, you know, the stop tech stuff, even though it seems to be better than the stock stuff, okay? It's a bigger rotor, it's a bigger caliper, you can fit bigger brake pads and stuff like that. It's just not lasting, guys. So I don't know if it's something to do with the actual brake kit itself, okay? Or with me, okay? But something has to change. Like, I was either gonna go back to stock, okay, or, you know, upgrade it to, and I obviously consider the AP setup because in the Corvette, you know, I have the AP setup. Honestly, I've never had an issue with that. But, you know, I don't want to spend that kind of money on this. And some of my friends have told me, and it's honestly true, at this point, I could have bought the AP setup and have saved money, you know, with all the money that I've had to sink into buying brake pads and rotors for the front, okay? I cracked another set of rotors the last time I was at the track. These two fronts are cracked, and they're cracked in the rear, so that's the weird part. So it's almost like as if it's overcooling. I don't freaking know, guys. I cracked the Stop Tech rotors, and I cracked the Paragon rotors. So I know it's not the rotors. Two different rotors, two different manufacturers, whatever. So it's something to do with the way this kit works, you know what I mean? And it may be, again, something about the way I drive or the brake pads that I'm using. but I just can't keep doing this. And also, I don't want to go back to stock because I already got a little taste of upgraded brakes, okay? So I started looking for another brake solution. Again, I don't want to spend $6,000 on just the front AP setup, okay? So that's how I came across to the Paragon. So we're gonna go over that here in a second. But the plan is we're gonna take the whole StopTech kit off, okay, front and back. The reason why I'm taking off the front and the back is because I'm gonna sell the whole thing, and hopefully that helps pay for the new kit, okay? I have so much money sunken into this thing. The rear, even though the rear is fine and the rear hasn't had any problems, I haven't had any abnormal wear, I haven't had any crazy brake pad wear, I haven't cracked any rotors, I don't think that it's adding that much performance, okay, in the way that I'm using the car. So again, at this point, it's more of an economy kind of thing. I can sell the rear kit much more easily than I can sell the front kit, just because the front kit, if you guys go back to the video when I install them, you know, this caliper was shaved, I have a cracked rotor, so, you know, I'm gonna have to sell this for dirt cheap if it even sells. So I'm hoping that, you know, I sell the rear kit, I put the stock calipers, and I have StopTech rotors from the back, that'll help offset, you know, the new setup. So I had known of Paragon brakes for a while now. Some of my friends had tried the replacement rotor rings for the Corvettes. I keep pointing over here like the Corvette is here. But for the AP, you know, Corvette kits, the AP rotors are really expensive, guys. You know what I mean? And the Paragon rotors are, you know, they're a more affordable option, okay? And they don't seem to have any lower quality, to be honest with you, than the AP stuff that I've used. I used them on the last track outing on the Corvette. I didn't have any issues. So that really led me down to reaching out to Paragon Brakes about a big brake kit for the Evo, okay? Paragon also happens to make a really, really big rotor brake, or, you know, big brake kit or whatever for the Evo 9. So this is a 370 millimeter rotor, guys. So this is huge, and this actually takes the same brake pad shape as like the big boy AP kit, okay? So this rotor annulus is pretty tall compared to that. We'll take that out and we'll compare, okay? So this is taller than what I have on the StopTech stuff, okay? It's also much taller, so I'm going from 355 on the StopTech stuff to 370 millimeter, and this is also much wider, guys. So this is 36 millimeters here versus 32 millimeters on the StopTech stuff. I personally think if I had to get, well, I am guessing, what I'm guessing is happening is that rotor simply just does not have enough mass, okay? And the reason why it's cracking on the inside is because I'm only cooling on the inside, okay? I don't have like dedicated ducts, I only have like the little deflector. So I'm assuming that the inside face is cooling a lot faster than the outside face. And because it doesn't have a lot of thickness or you know, it doesn't have a lot of material, that's probably why it's cracking. So it's probably thermal stress. That's the only thing that I can guess as to why that keeps happening. So they have the right size rotor, okay, but the caliper also is not only gorgeous looking, okay, but it has a lot of features that you either cannot get, or is not available, or it would be an upgrade on most other big brake kits, okay? So starting here, so obviously we have the nickel plated finish, all right? The upgrade to the nickel plated finish, guys, honestly is very affordable. I don't know, you know, once you're spending this kind of money, I don't see why, you know, you wouldn't do the nickel plated unless you don't like the look. Okay, they do have a hard anodized, which this is hard anodizing, which that's another actually a nice feature, okay, because most setups come with just a black anodizing, and black anodizing is not that heat resistant, so then over time it turns purple. If you guys have gone to the track and you've seen like the gyro disc stuff that turns like purple pink, yeah, that's how they get. My APs on the Corvette, keep pointing to the Corvette, we're starting to turn purple, okay? Hard anodizing will not do that, or shouldn't do that, okay? So you can get this with the hard anodizing finish. So that's like, you know, the main thing that you see, okay? But the machining on it is beautiful, okay? It's a billet two-piece caliper, okay? They include pad retaining clips, okay, which this is not included with many types of calipers, okay, or racing type calipers. These two little wings help push the brake pad down so the brake pads don't rattle and make noise. Most calipers are just going to have, you know, some cross pins like this, and, you know, the brake pad, you know, can move up and down, and that can make noise, okay? You have stainless steel pistons that are titanium nitride, I think is nitride, coated, okay? That's a nice gold looking finish, but again, they're stainless steel. There's no external dust boots to burn up, okay? When I pull those guys out, those top techs, you're gonna see those dust boots are destroyed. This has 2 internal seals. You have an option of adding anti-knockback springs, which with the top tech you cannot get. I don't know Endless and all that kind of stuff if they'd have, but I'm gonna guess not unless you get an $8,000 type of caliper. The APs do have it, okay, but again, the price difference, guys. You can add the anti-knockback springs, okay, for a really affordable price, guys. So in case you don't know what the anti-knockback springs, check this out. Okay, let's see if this works first shot. So the idea is you're gonna take your compressor, you're gonna put a piece of wood. Hopefully, I don't have a saw. I'm a carpenter and I don't have a saw here, but this is wide enough. So hopefully you're gonna shoot compressed air here, and the idea is that all 6 pistons are gonna shoot out. And you definitely don't wanna stick your hand in there or anything like that. So now, sometimes they don't all come out, and then that's where it gets tricky. So let's see what happens here. Okay, and just like that, like you see, only one came out. So then now, you know, I have to get into like putting clamps and stuff like that here to kind of hold one at a time. But anyways, I want to show you guys this. So if you order this from Paragon and you want to do the anti-knockback springs, okay, you know, they'll do them for you, okay? But I wanted to show you guys how this works. So basically, this is the piston, right? And you see the piston bore. And by the way, I don't know if you can see that, but those are the internal seals. So it's a double internal seal. So this is actually pretty nice to see, okay? You can make sure that everything is nice and clean in there, which it is. But anyways, you have these springs and you have different size cones. So you see you got these little ones and you got these bigger ones. So these bigger ones go on the big ones and they just kind of snap in here. And basically that spring force, you know, pushes on the piston out. So that way the pistons are always riding up against the brake pad. It gives you an immediate feel, okay? So then, you know, you have smaller springs, and the 2 smaller pistons take the 2 smaller springs. So then you just want to take a little bit of brake parts lubricant. I know a lot of people use like Vaseline or stuff like that. I don't like to use that because it doesn't mix well with brake fluid. And you want to lubricate in here these seals. And you want to make sure that you get a little bit around the edge so that when you go put the piston in, you don't want to get caught up on those seals at all. So then make sure this guy looks kind of straight. Insert it, and then you're gonna go square straight in. There it goes. You'll feel once it goes in and it goes nice and smooth. Okay? But this process would be done by Paragon for you. Okay, so I just wanted to show you guys what the anti-knockback spring is. They obviously include the brackets, okay? Now this is not an aluminum bracket, this is a steel bracket, so it does have some heft to it, okay? But again, affordable, guys, you know what I mean? They include brake pads. These brake pads are made by WinMax, which is a Japanese manufacturer, is my understanding, okay? And they have many different kind of ranges. So this is the P3. We're gonna be starting with these are for the street. So this is like a performance type brake pad. It's not meant to be a dustless or a low dust brake pad, okay? But this is a performance brake pad, okay? But I also have the R5s, which later on when I take the car to the track, because obviously this is all so that, you know, I could take the car to the track, we're gonna be trying out the R5s, okay, which is like their medium or their second to last, okay, brake pad, racing brake pad option. So we're gonna be trying that. Obviously it comes with your fully assembled 2-piece rotors, which in this case they're massive, okay? You can also get titanium shims from them for, again, a very affordable price. It comes with your brake lines, all your fittings, or your bolts. It comes with, you know, temperature stickers to know if your brake calipers are getting too hot. So, I mean, guys, this is a really, really, really complete kit that has a lot of features that you either cannot get. Again, I keep coming back to this because a lot of these things you either cannot get or are an upgrade on most other brake kits, whereas Paragon already includes this stuff, guys, okay? So it looks amazing, has a lot of features. Now let's find out if it performs as good as it looks. Okay, so here we have both rotors side to side. Obviously, this is a much bigger rotor, but what I was telling you guys about the thickness, okay, look at that, okay? So this is a much taller or wider rotor, but also if you look at here, the amount of material that you have on this little part here, so call it the face on each side, it's much thinner than what we have here, okay? So these slots are not as wide or as tall as these slots, okay? And there's a lot more, so there's a lot more mass to these rotors than this rotor, okay? So I think that what's happening is this rotor simply just does not have enough thermal capacity, enough mass, because that's what you need in a rotor, mass for thermal capacity to take on all that heat. And so what's happening is they're cracking, okay? And this is not a baby crack. This is cracked all the way through. And it's like that in multiple spots on both sides of the front, only on the inside, okay? So that's really what led me down to decide that, you know, I can't keep doing this, replacing rotors and pads. And that's the other thing, I'm chewing through a set of pads in one day, you know what I mean? So again, I think that goes to the thermal capacity. I mean, yeah, you can get better life from the pads if you cool the rotor better, but still, look at that height of the annulus here, okay? So this is a much taller annulus, so it means that you can have a lot more surface area on the brake pad, okay? And therefore, the brake pad and the rotor, the whole assembly is going to run cooler. This is going to be able to absorb a lot more heat before having these kind of stresses. Another thing that is worth mentioning, now that I look at this, look at the difference of these brackets. So if I overlay the brackets on top of each other, you're going to see what I'm talking about. So I got the Paragon bracket in the front and the StopTech bracket in the rear. So you see all this? This is much tighter to the knuckle on the StopTech. So therefore, that doesn't allow as much air to be channeled, okay, from my air deflector. Whereas now with the Paragon bracket, it's going to allow a lot more air. All right, so I ended up having to take an intermission here because I ended up damaging the OEM hardline. I completely rounded this over and I try to find it from the dealer. These are no longer available. The one from the other side is available, but this side is not available. And I thought about cutting it and repairing it and something like that, but then, sorry, through my searches of the line, I ended up finding this company called Finishing Line, and they actually sell a whole replacement braided line kit for the whole car. Where is it? Finishing Line, here you go. Sorry, I was too excited. I actually had this overnight. This guy Josh, super nice guy, man. Definitely, if you have any kind of problem or you want to switch the car over to braided lines or AN lines, or you want to delete the ABS, man, this guy is, honestly, I called him, I explained to him the situation. He doesn't have just a single line posted on his website, but I was like, hey man, I only need one line. He goes, yeah, no problem. You know, I can do that for you. I'll get it processed by Monday. This was on Friday. And then he called me like an hour later. He goes, hey man, I got that line done for you. It's going to go in the mail today. So man, thank you so much, Josh. Saved my life. So yeah. So anyways, so I got that line. I got to figure out, you know what I mean, how to attach that and you know, finish buttoning all this up. By the way, the kit doesn't come with ARP studs, okay? It comes with bolts. All right, I found the bolt. So here's the bolt, okay? So they send you, like I said, you know, they give you everything that you need for installation, and there's nothing wrong with the bolt, okay? I just happen to have this from my AP setup on the Corvette. One time I had one of the studs get messed up. The AP comes with these type of studs. And they just happen to be the correct size, the correct thread pitch and everything like that, and I have nuts. So anyways, I had a spare set of studs. So the only thing that's going to change is really when you got to change the rotor, okay? When you got to change the rotor, you do have to pop the caliper out to get the rotor back in. And as a matter of fact, for install, you have to put the rotor in first and then the caliper. But the caliper has, you know, these pad retaining bolts, so you don't have to take the caliper out to change pads or anything like that. But anyway, so yeah, so this is not required. It comes with everything you need. I just figured I'd mention it just in case nobody noticed it. All right, so now we slip our rotor out of the way. I mean, look how big this is. This is crazy. Put a little bolt there to hold it. And by the way, you got to make sure that every time you get a new rotor, whatever the brand it is, you got to clean it, okay? You got to get some soapy water and really brush it and stuff like that, because this comes with an oil. And you definitely want to get that stuff off too before you bed in your pads. Okay, so, oh my God, this, I mean, look at that. That's a thing of beauty, man. I can't roll it because it's all-wheel drive, but you get the idea. All right, so let me get this all buttoned up, okay, guys, and then we'll go for a drive. I gave you my impressions, but oh my God, I could already tell you that it looks magnificent. I like butter. But man, yeah, look at this. So we got the pads in. Those pads they look nice, all right? And then now our pad retaining clips. So these would put pressure on the pad, okay? These clips, you see how they extend like that? So those act like springs, and then that way the pad, you know, won't be moving around. All right, guys, so got the pads nice and broken in. So far they feel great, man. Like any great street pad that you would get, I would compare them to the feel of like an OEM brake pad. Reminds me a lot of like the Corvette OEM pads. People say that those are Ferodo 3000, I believe. But also reminds me of like the Ferodo 2500. Not a crazy amount of bite as you would expect, but very progressive. So, you know, as you get more into the pedal, you know, you get more force, you know what I mean? So yeah, definitely what they say that this pad is intended, its purpose is, you know, like a street performance pad. That's what I completely agree. You know, feels great. I can confirm that it works great in the wet. There was a nice rainstorm here earlier. Everything worked fine. Bedding was pretty easy. I would say that just getting out of the neighborhood, they were already starting to bite pretty good. You know, I was just doing like a little short, like 20 mile an hour. Then I did a couple like 40 mile an hour. And then by the time I was doing like my first 60 mile an hour, they were biting really good. Yeah, so yeah, no complaints there. You can definitely get into ABS. And so far, I'll show you guys here when we're done, but so far, not a whole lot of dust either. So yeah, I think so far I'm really liking these pads. As far as for a street pad, I don't know that these would hold up for track, you know what I mean? But so far for street, they're really on the money. Now, right there. That's why I compare them slightly to the Ferodo DS2500, because just like those pads, when you get a little bit of heat into them, they do have a little bit of a squeal if you're just kind of like just riding the pedal, as you know, you kind of do when you're street driver, you know what I mean? If you're aggressive on the pedal, no noise, and then when they're cold, no noise either. So yeah, it's just when you get into that slight pressure, either you're like very lightly braking or coming to a stop sign or something like that, you get sometimes, not always, but sometimes you do get a little bit of a squeal. It's not one of those ear-piercing, you know, trackpad squeals, but there is a little bit of squeal. So, you know, if there was one negative thing that I could say about the pads, it's that. Now, besides everything else, feels great. Nothing, no abnormal things. I'm not feeling anything weird or different about the way the car turns or the steering feels or anything like that with the bigger rotors. Okay. I didn't post weights of everything like that because I don't think that a whole lot of people are using the StopTech stuff, and quite honestly, I don't have a stock rotor to weigh, so I didn't think it would be a fair comparison to weigh the stuff versus the StopTech. But they're considerably heavier than the StopTech. Obviously, like I showed you guys, it's a bigger rotor and all that, so it's going to be quite a bit heavier than stock, and that's just, you know, there's just no other way around that unless you're, you know, super fancy and you go carbon or carbon ceramic brakes. You know, it's just part of the territory. You know what I mean? It's going to be heavier. But again, I think that that's something that you do want. Like, this is one place where you do want more mass. Less mass, and your brake rotor is not necessarily better. And I think that that's what was causing the StopTech's, you know, that rotor side. See, just touching it, but if I press a little bit harder, then it goes away. But yeah, again, I'm thinking that it was the lack of rotor mass, weight, you know, that was making those rotors crack. So let's do another quick pull here, and then we'll go back to home base. Let's see what they look like. So I'll pump gas, so it's not the fastest thing right now. Oh yeah, I can definitely get into ABS. I can get the ass to go like this. And that's a street pad, guys. So I mean, you know, what else can you ask for? You know what I mean? I'm sure that if you had a lighter street car, if you had a lighter car, or you weren't as harsh on brakes as I am, these may even be good for like a dual purpose. You know what I mean? You know, like a street light track, or maybe like autocross. This may be a great street pad. I'm also kind of wondering, because some of the squealing I think is because of the rears. It's always hard to get the rears to really bed in, just because they do so little work. But this may be a good combo for the rear. You know what I mean? Like if with the R5s, the track pads, the medium compound track pads, if those are too much for the rear, meaning they're not really getting even up to temperature, then I may just throw these back on and see how they do, you know what I mean, just in the rear. But yeah, so anyways, so far very happy. The pedal feel is slightly improved with the anti-knockback springs. There's a more immediate grab. Just in the feel of the pedal, these Evos always have a little bit of travel for it to start doing anything, you know what I mean? On the factory, I want to say that, you know, you get like an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch, where the pedal just kind of feels spongy and it doesn't really do much, and then it starts grabbing. This reduced it by a good amount. I think I'm down to maybe only a 1/2 inch. All right, before we wrap up the video, I want to let you guys know that Paragon Brakes is hooking you guys up with a 10% discount on any purchase of $500 and more. Just use code JUST82L, like you see it here. Now, I got to tell you guys, I reached out to Paragon Brakes because I wanted to buy the brake kit, okay? And I asked them to work with me on this, which they did. They gave me a discount on the kit. I didn't get it for free. I didn't get it for 50% off. I just got a discount on it. But to be honest with you guys, like, it's something that I was going to buy anyways. And I even told them, I said, hey, you know, if you don't want to do anything, you know, if you don't want to work with me on this, that's fine. I'm still going to buy the kit. But I wanted to mention that to you guys because I want to be 100% honest, and I don't want you guys to feel like I'm trying to sell you something or peddling something. That's not what this channel is about, okay? I don't make any money on this channel as of date. But so this is just a, you know, every time that I've recommended something to you guys, it's just because it's something that I truly like or believe in, or has really worked for me, okay? And you know, so far everything from Paragon has been great, okay? Their customer service has been great. their stuff, everything that I've gotten fits and works great, okay? From the rotor rings to now the brake kit with the brake pads and everything like that. The brake kit, honestly, so far has been amazing, you know, and I think that it's, for the value, you can't beat it. I don't think you can beat the value that you get for this kit, to be honest with you. And that's really why I wanted to try to get you guys a discount code, because I am excited about it. I wanted to try it out for myself, and I'm hoping you guys get some benefit from it too. Okay, guys, they make, so far the brake pads, the street pads are great. You know, it's a street pad. It's a pad that I would probably even try to use on autocross, and like I said, it may work on some cars in the rear, like if, you know, with the Evos or some of the Hondas where it's really hard to get heat into the rear. You know, it may be a pad that works really good, and again, maybe something that you could use for as a hybrid. Haven't tried the track pads yet, so we'll be posted, you know, we'll be on the lookout for that. There will be another video coming out in the future of me taking the Evo to the track, we trying out the R5s. And if the R5 is too much for the back, guess what? I'm gonna put the P3 back in the rear to try to get that to work. But yeah, man, so far very happy with it. Again, customer service is great. They have pads, they have kits, they have rotor rings. If you have any kind of aftermarket brake kit, big brake kit, okay, and you need replacement rotor rings, man, you really need to consider Paragon, okay? It's a really good value, and again, I haven't seen any less of a quality or any downgrade in performance or longevity or anything like that. And this is not only coming from me, this is also some of my friends that track their cars that are using this stuff as well on their cars, on AP kits, okay? Many guys are switching over to the Paragon rotor rings just because, again, it's a cheaper alternative and it's not as aggressive. It doesn't have all those hooks that I believe wear down the pads quickly. So they also make their own two-piece rotors, seemingly for everything. And you can get the hats either anodized or hard anodized, which the hard anodizing, for me, that's a big plus, man, for the track, so that stuff doesn't turn purple. I hate that stuff when it turns purple. It just looks like crap, you know what I mean? I don't know if I mentioned it, but they have titanium shims for all kinds of shapes. Again, brake pads and full kits, you know what I mean? So if you're interested in any of this stuff, again, if you want to save 10%, it does have to be of a purchase of $500 or more. But, you know, if you're buying brake stuff, you know, you're usually spending a pretty penny, you know what I mean? So again, just a 2L10, like you see it here in the link, that I'll also leave it down in the description. Okay, guys? Man, I'm still amazed as to how nice these things look. Even after being dirty and stuff like that, they look incredible. So yeah, the dust is, you know, there's a little bit of dust, but nothing too crazy. Pads definitely bedded in nicely in the front. In the rear, they're looking a little funky, so I'm thinking that some of the noise is coming from the back. Kind of hard to see in video, but down here at the bottom, it's not like fully bedded in. So I'm guessing that I'm betting that some of the noise is coming from the back because they're not fully bedded in. Again, it's hard to get a lot of heat into these cars in the rear, especially in the rear. So, but yeah, man, super happy with the kit. I think you guys should definitely consider this. I mean, this looks amazing, works amazing, and the value is amazing. All right, guys, well, I'm not sure when we're gonna get out to the track to test out the R5 pads and really, you know, put the brake kit through its paces. Right now it's summer in Florida, and I'm probably not gonna go out until maybe September or something like that. It's just way too hot, man. On the next video, we are gonna be looking at, oh shit, I just realized I lost my gurney flap. Oh man, I didn't even notice I lost my gurney flap. Shit. Well, it wasn't on the OEM one, it was the Rec Speed one. I guess I gotta have, I guess I'm gonna have to get some adhesion promoter on the next one. But yeah, that's a bummer. Okay, I was saying that in the next video, I'm gonna be revealing the next track car to replace the blue C706. All right, guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.